We are going to talk today about personal branding, how to do it, what it means, why you do it, and what that means for your business and what it means for the growth of your business and the perceptions of your peers and you in your market. So let's start out. We'll make this a little interactive. I know some people are still trickling in a little bit, but I'd like everybody to kind of chime in as we go, and we're going to make some of this interactive. But let's start out by talking like when you think about a particular brand or you think about popular brands, what are some brands that you guys think of? And there's no wrong answer, and everybody can jump in. Just unmute your mic and provide some good value. So when you think of like, what are some good brands you think of? Like clothes you own, cars you drive, shoes you wear, food you eat. What are brands you think of, and then what do you tie to those brands? Anybody jump in?
Lululemon, think of quality.
Okay, keep going. This is good. Why?
I've had their clothes for many years and they last longer.
So this is funny. My brother texted me last night and was like, "Hey," and this will be too much information, and it's okay, but he's like, "Hey, what kind of boxers do you wear?" And I said, "Lululemon," and he said, "Oh, I can't afford those," which is oftentimes the perception of Lululemon, right? Expensive, too much money. And I said, "Actually, you can. Yes, one pair is $25 or $30, but they last 2 to 3 years, and you have good quality with them. They last, they're durable, yada, 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 right?" What else? Somebody else jump in.
I think of
Chick-fil-A.
Nike. Oh, sorry.
All right,
No,
Rob, you said Chick-fil-A, and then we'll hit Sarah next.
Yeah, eat more chicken.
You think of that because Drew just walked in the office with it, or what?
No, but yes, I love it.
So what do
how
you
can
think of
not?
with Chick-fil-A? What do we tie to Chick-fil-A to?
Some quality, high quality chicken.
Efficiency in the operation too,
My
right?
pleasure. Yes.
My pleasure. The fastest drive-through, efficiency. They come to your car. They're the nicest people in the world, right? Sarah, jump in. What do you have?
I think of Nike, and Steve Madden's another brand I love. I love bold. I always think of like big, thick prints, bright colors, modern looking. That's what I get attracted to with ads.
Do you tie that to like something that feels physically strong, feels stable?
No,
No?
I'm attracted to the colors and the modern and the minimalist. That's the kind of thing that catches my eye. But I do think of like fast, athletic. Obviously, wearing those clothes makes me feel like I did go to the gym. So
Yeah,
it's a lifestyle thing.
absolutely. That's great. All right. So then when we think of those are big personal brands, you think of like Nike, you would tie to like sports, you would tie to, like you said, it makes me feel like I work out, it makes me feel fit, it makes me feel this, right? But when you talk about individual personal brands, what are some personal brands that you think of off the gate that are great? What are some that are terrible? What are some like personal brands, individual people that have massive personal brands? Who do you think of? I'll start. Kanye West, holy smokes. Awful is what that is perceived with right now. A ton of negative light around it. Built Kanye the musician and then Kanye the marketer. Two totally different deals at this point. A lot of people are oftentimes saying now, gosh, just go back to singing. You were awesome. You were great. College dropout was awesome. Now it's like, geez, lost $400 million in the last couple of days tied to Adidas, right? So when you used to think of Kanye, it was Kanye with his Yeezy shoes tied to Adidas, and Adidas says, nope, no more, no longer tied to us. Next, this is something I think has been really cool to see in an Indianapolis market where the Colts and the fans of the Colts have rooted against somebody like Tom Brady forever. Tom Brady, the New England Patriots were all tied to one as like the evil nemesis. Tom Brady leaves the Patriots, goes to the Bucks, more personable on social media, tons of personality, funny. He was absolutely popped at the Super Bowl celebration, throwing the Lombardi trophy, and all the people that used to hate Tom Brady start to go, oh, Tom Brady's funny. Tom Brady's like me. He's no different. He just goes to work every day and he's more disciplined in what he does. And then you tie him to TB12 and Super Bowl rings, right? So you tie him to health and fitness program, longevity in the sport versus the guy who deflated footballs and cheated. But who gets that tied to them? The Patriots still do, and Bill Belichick still does. So oftentimes I hear people say when you talk about that, you know what, Brady's not so bad, but Belichick still sucks. I don't like him. He's the guy that's the problem. So you still pin the negative somewhere, but you readjust your positive somewhere else, right? So long and the short, like when we talk about building personal brands and the evolution of them, they're ever changing and they're ever evolving. Takes forever to build it up. You can burn it to the ground in 2 seconds, like we just talked about with Kanye West. So one of the things that we often talk about in the questions that we have is like, how are you perceived in the market by your clients? So a couple questions I have is like, if you go meet a client for the first time, what are things that you're thinking about in the conversation with those clients? And I'm going to put this on Rob because you're good on the hip and you're good at this stuff. But what are things that you do when you meet with a client for the first time?
You're talking about meeting as in we've never talked before, or I
Sure.
guess I need the stage a little bit more
Yeah.
set.
So you go to meet a new client for the first time in person. You've never met him before.
Have I spoke with them over the phone?
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Hey, Rob, it's Alex. I saw your listing on 123 Main. Can you show me the property?
Okay, so we're saying yes, and then I go meet them. Well, I think the first thing I'm doing is trying to make sure that I'm like looking presentable just in terms of what I'm wearing for the day. Number one, but just trying to have the demeanor of making that great first impression. So that means also coming with any sort of marketing material, an EXP folder. I have all of the information that they need, whether that's a buyer's guide, if they're like a first time home buyer, or if they've already bought a home and sold a home before, then maybe it's just the one pager that I have that's a refresher to just give them all of my marketing materials. But more or less, I think it's just the initial connection, shake their hands, look them directly in the eye, introduce myself, and try to find ways even beforehand to connect with them, which is done primarily for me through social media. So I'm looking to try to figure out, okay, where are they at on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook? Who are their friends? Who do I know that they might know? Do they like the Colts? Do they like the Pacers? Do they like the Packers or the Steelers? You know, like this last buyer that I met recently is a Steelers fan, which I saw because he was in a bunch of Steelers garb all over his Facebook pictures. So the first thing I do, or close to the first thing I do, is like razz him a little bit about the Steelers, you know, because I'm not a Steelers fan. But then just bring it back in sort of a joking manner to try to help establish a little bit of rapport.
So you come prepared, some sort of marketing material, you're dressed presentable, your hair is coiffed, because you want to be perceived as somebody that's professional, that's prepared, that's knowledgeable of the market, and that they can develop a know, like, and trust with very quickly, right? That's why you do all those things. That ties to your personal brand, right? So if the first time you meet them, you do all of that, but the second time you show up in workout gear and you're 5 minutes late and you're running behind and you're sloppy in the presentation and you don't have anything, how do they start to identify who Rob Mager is? Somebody
Yeah, they're
that,
gonna think that. Yeah. Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say that, you know, initial first impression was good, but then started slipping or getting loosey goosey, and then I what this is what I would want to avoid is them thinking that, oh, what's he going to do once we have, a contract in place? Is he going to be loosey goosey like that? So
Does Rob have time for me? Is Rob too busy for me? Was the first time an act, or was the first time more of who he is and who his identity is, right? So when you do all of this stuff, and things that I have written down here is, it's like the words you use when you talk, it's the language that you use. I am somebody that has, it's a negative trait. You can make the argument, like sometimes I tend to swear in my presentations, in my conversations, in my evaluations of things. Part of that's the Italian, it's the passion. But what I understand is when we started doing these trainings, it's like, Alex, if you're going to put a training on and you're going to speak to people and you're going to try to be helpful and you're going to record trainings and you're going to use it for marketing people, you can't be out there popping off, dropping F-bombs, swearing, and it looks bad as somebody that's like loose-lipped and uneducated, is sometimes what the perception of that is, right? So you have to be thoughtful about the words that come out of your mouth. You have to be thoughtful. Today, like I had a dinner last night with some reps in the industry. They took me out to dinner. I'm out late. I wake up this morning, I'm tired, and it's like, I need to shave, I need to show up, and I need to present well and put a dress shirt on, because I'm going to stand up in front of a camera and I'm going to talk about personal branding. That would be hypocritical to stand here in a sweatshirt and say, gosh, what a rough night, I'm exhausted. Are you exhausted? Probably. Does it matter? No. Everybody that sits on the call right now and looks for information about a personal branding can say, every time Alex does these trainings, he has a Lockstep logo in the background and he shows up and he presents to the camera with education and information. And he made a commitment to show up every single Wednesday for you guys, short of something with his family or his personal life. That's the commitment and a brand that I carry of the commitment to you guys, right? Or the commitment to the personal brand of who Alex is or what Alex wants to accomplish. So a note I have down here, and Rob loves the one-liner, so we'll drop one in here for you. How you do anything is how you do everything. So when you show up to meet your client and you're dressed a particular way and you bring particular material with you and you're providing education to the client and you care passionately for the opportunity to build a relationship, if that's how you do it one time, that's how you should do it every single time. Not sometimes, not when you feel like it. It's the difference of being good and great. When I feel like tucking my shirt in, or I feel like doing my hair before I go to a presentation so I look cleaner and more presentable for the client, that's the brand that I want. Daniel Leeper from our team is masterful about meeting with particular clients that he can connect with and wear a t-shirt, a sport coat, or a t-shirt in Vans. And that is part of the brand that Daniel has and the clients that he connects with very, very well. So everybody's brand can be different, but you have to own and understand that that brand has to be who you are, and that's the perception of your peers across the table from you. Perception is reality. You're late to a showing. You have no marketing material. Hey, Alex, what's the age of the house? I don't know. You know the age of the furnace? Nope, don't know. Hey, how big is this bedroom? I don't know, because you don't have a listing sheet. Let me pull it up on my phone. Unprepared. The perception to the client, the perception to your peer is that you are unprepared or uneducated or too busy. Sometimes that's the reality, whether you want to admit that or not. So early in my career, I worked in the business for, gosh, it was, I just started at Remax, so it would have been 2014. I'd been in the industry for a year and a half, and I get this $380,000 listing in Windermere and Fishers, great listing. And I go out there, I'm excited as can be, and I throw a stake sign down in the yard, and I'm like feeling so empowered. And the guy was a friend of mine I used to work with at the Pacers. And Michael calls me up and he says, "What is this rickety sign in my front yard?" And I said, "What do you mean? Like, it's real estate sign, my man." Like, they had given me a free sign when I switched to Remax. He's like, "Get a hanging post, sign in my yard by the end of the week." That's the expectation of how you should be. And that's part of your identity, Alex. You can do better than this. I never thought of that. Every single opportunity I've ever had to list a property since, and never stick a stake in the ground. Part of my personal brand is that we always hang a post every single time. I don't care if it's $1. I don't care if it's $1,000,000. That's what we do, because that's how we present it. We always shoot professional pictures. We always do things a particular way when we list a property. So then think about it this way. When somebody calls you and says, hey, will you list your property for 4%? Are you a discount agent? Are you somebody that supports clients' needs and you're less about commission? I recently heard Ricky Caruth talking in a training. I reduced my commission because I look at the lifetime value of a relationship. Okay, lifetime value of relationship. Where do you protect the craft of the industry and says, I charge 6% because of this laundry list of things that you get from us. We do this, we do that, we do this, we professionally stage, we have cleaning crews, we have painting crews. Our relationship goes beyond a transaction because what do you need at your current house when you sell your existing house? What are other things that we can provide for you? Or are you somebody that churns and burns transactions to say, I got to get to $12 million and 48 transactions a year, and I don't care how I get there? There's ways to do everything as you work through your real estate business. And it's very important and very empowering as a professional to sit here across the table from your peers, because if that person says, gosh, Alex was late, Alex was sloppy, Alex never did this, what are they going to do? They're going to go to Zillow, they're going to click on a property, and they're going to say, I can't ever get a hold of my real estate agent. I want to buy a property and they're nowhere to be found. They're hiking in the mountains, they don't have their phone on, and that's okay, but they don't have any support or any backup. So how are you tailoring your business every single day when you get up and you go to work? Things to think about, things to do, right? The one thing I would ask a lot of us, what's your social media look like? Are you somebody that only posts when you list and sell a property? Woof. Who's the real person behind somebody that pended the house up the street? Does he have a family? Does she have a husband? Does she have kids? Does she have a partner? Does she have passions other than real estate? What makes her a real human? It's all part of your personal brand, right? Ford, are you on the call? Looks like his mic's muted. Ford's wife specializes in branding and brand. Oh man, he's in the car.
What's up, guys?
How are you, man?
I'm showing up in the car, which probably isn't the best brand message to put on, but I am happy to talk about social media.
Why don't you talk a little bit about social media and then some of the brand stuff that your wife talks about and the importance of it?
Yeah, so I feel like branding and social media is like a big thing that like you can get really deep in, or you just go surface level on. For social media, like the biggest thing that like we've identified is like trying to find 3 buckets on my social media. Whether
Oh man, we're losing them.
my spotty. Let me do this. See if that helps. Yeah. So I've been finding 3 buckets and then diving into those 3 buckets and trying to post on like a normal basis. Family, showing my family that's important to me. Showing real estate because we do it every day. And then also like showing things that we do around Indianapolis. I mean, those are like our 3 buckets because we enjoy being active and we enjoy just showing all parts of this, what we do. As far as the branding piece goes, it's more just like trying to come up with consistent colors, consistent messaging throughout. And it's way more than just the colors, but like coming up with the consistent message that you want to put across all platforms, whether that's social media to what you show up in your hand, those marketing pieces Rob mentioned that you're like giving your clients for good first impressions, to logos maybe that you're wearing and different things of that nature. Anything specific that you want me to hit on more?
No, that's all good stuff, Ford. Thanks, man. Keep two hands on the steering wheel. So that's a good transition as we talk about more than just like individual perception of who you are, but then rebranding or branding yourself as the agent outside of just like your physical presentation, right? So when you talk about a color palette and you talk about the video content that you talk about, there's Jerry Gordon with FC Tucker. He does man, I forget what it's called. He jumps in and he says, Jerry's here and he's back like he never left behind closed doors. And he does a big presentation about something within a house or within the house that you should be looking for, that you should be educating yourself on in a buying or a selling process. That's something that Jerry does behind closed doors. And I texted him this morning and we were joking about it. And I was like, hey man, I'm going to throw you on the presentation today. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. And he just puts, oh man, behind closed doors. And we're like laughing about it because that's what he does all the time. It's less about the content that's in there, but it's more about the personal brand that he has as somebody that wants to educate and inform his clients in what he's offering them, right? So I went to a convention a couple weeks ago and I go see this guy speak. He's 30 years old. He gets on stage. He's got a watch that probably cost $100,000. He's got a skin tight black shirt on, and he's got a picture of a purple Lamborghini and a purple Mercedes AMG. So he's probably got $500,000 worth of cars on the screen. And so I start looking through his social media, trying to understand like, what is the catch here? And one of his videos actually talks about it. I bought the cars and I had them painted this color. I have the shirt that I wear. I have the hat that I wear on every single presentation. And it's because of how I want to be identified in our market. If you see the car, you know it's me. If you see this, you know that it's me. So having just gone through a rebranding when we launched Lockstep, it was a 7-month process where we worked with a brand consultant, and it was taking the reality of what our business really was as Alex Montagano Real Estate Group and turning it into Lockstep Realty. Well, Lockstep Realty was formed because of how we work with our clients. We work in lockstep with our clients, hand in hand with our clients all the time, before a transaction, through the transaction, to the end of it, and then well beyond for the life of any real estate needs or any personal needs they ever have. So when somebody goes and sees Lockstep, what we've spent the year doing is pushing out content and marketing material to say, Alex Montagano associates with Lockstep Realty. If you see Lockstep, you think of Alex. And then you think of Thano, and you think of Daniel, and you think of Austin, and you think of Crystal, and you think of and the rest of the team, right? So when you're sitting here and you're pushing out content, are you serious? Are you personable? Are you funny? Are you this? Drew puts great content out all the time with his family as a jokester and a prankster. And there's videos that you'll get from Drew all the time. And it's him with a buddy, and it's funny. And that's how people associate Drew with real estate. Somebody that's been around the block for a long time. He's going to make you laugh. He really cares. He's available. And if he's busy, it's because he's with his family. Drew, family, Drew, real estate. And it'll make you laugh too. When you look further past those physical things and you think about identity of your business, what kind of business do you want to have? I'm somebody that buys real estate leads. I pay for leads to grow my business faster. So when I go meet with clients, I tell them that. You met me because I paid for space to shake your hand and meet you. That's something that I do, and a lot of people know that I do. Alex, you pay for leads. Yeah, I do. Why? Because I believe it can help me grow my business faster, and it's a personal investment into my business. I pay for real estate coaching. Why do you have a coach? Can't you just find a mentor and a peer in your network? Accountability, about personal evaluations all the time. If you pay somebody to evaluate you and support you and train you and teach you, they're going to take you further. They're going to have the hard conversations when you're not holding up to a standard and you're not pushing things forward. Where oftentimes, if it's just a peer, they may just push it to the side and say, hey man, you're doing great. You sold more houses this week. They help you hold the standard that you hold for yourself, and they hold the rope for you when you can't. Those are things that I've always done. So as you continue to evaluate your own personal brand, it's important to look and say, what are things that I want to do? I'm somebody that builds my business only by my sphere. I cold call expireds and FISBOs and I door knock. Okay, it's different. That's tough. But that's somebody that's going to have a ton of success in the changing market that we're about to experience. Not afraid to pick up the phone and call a stranger and say, how can I help you? I'm here to support you. Looks like you had a poor experience selling your house last time. We have people on our team that do the same thing. And it's like, he came to me yesterday and said, Alex, I want some leads, man. I want to go out and sell some houses. I need more buyers. The conversation back with Matt was, you don't have time for buyers because your personal schedule. You need to bang the phones and get listings. And he looked and goes, you're right. I don't have time to go show houses. I don't have time to go do this, but I have time to put a sign in the yard and then facilitate a listing process. Matt's somebody that is relentless on the phone. That's part of his identity in the business. It's part of his personal brand. So what are some things that you guys can do, and anybody feel free to jump in and provide things to improve your personal brand or evolve your personal brand, or what are things that you do with your personal brand that you can share with the rest of the group? Anybody feel free to jump in.
You know, one thing I've debated, I've had people tell me this because every time I meet somebody new, oh, Thano, like Thanos. So, you know, I've actually got this thing here. I got this glove. You know, and I've thought about wearing it to some meetings just to have fun, or like I'll sell your house and snap, just cheesy things like that. Like, and again, it's cheesy, but you know, I've thought about things like that, just to kind of like the guy with the purple cars. Like, you know, if you see me coming with a glove on, you know it's me.
Yeah.
I don't know, things like that. That it's a little scary to do because you'll probably get some ridicule and you'll probably get some feedback from people that you don't want to hear. But you know, branching out and getting out of your comfort zone. I think, you know, social media is out of a lot of people's comfort zone. So I was talking with Ford a couple weeks ago, and you know, we don't put our kids on social media, but he said you don't have to. You know, just take a picture, you know, that doesn't show their faces, or a video or things like that. Like, get outside of the box and don't just be so constrained by your own personal boundaries that you can't, you know, connect with people on a personal level. So things like that are things I'm trying to bring into my daily routine.
Awesome.
Hey, I can weigh in now.
Yeah, for sure.
Alex mentioned earlier that like I'm not always the most buttoned up agent, and for some reason it's worked for me. I wear a t-shirt. I mean, I'm wearing a sweater and a collared shirt now because I have an appointment later that kind of requires this, but I'm always wearing Vans for the most part. Alex is trying to get me a little more buttoned up, and that's kind of it's kind of where we're at. But when I first got into the industry, my last name is Leaper, as most of you know, and my first brokerage and I kind of came up with a brainstorming idea of me taking the leap, like taking the leap into real estate. We did the Jordan Jumpman logo with my silhouette with a briefcase instead of a basketball, and that stuff really worked. And I will say this much: social media can be great, it can be whatever, but I think you have to be honest with yourself as to how you're going to use it. I get way more interaction on stuff like Thana was just mentioning with his kid, or Ford was mentioning with his kids. I get way more interaction with stuff with Steph and Ben. I got a ton of interaction on this pineapple core I posted the other night. I don't know. My whole point is kind of being authentic. I think Drew Schrader said that to me when I first met him. Be authentic to who you are. People know who you are already more than you probably realize. And if you're trying to be somebody you're not, it's just not going to go well. So yeah, I'll cut it off there, but basically just kind of figure out who your true self is and kind of dive into that.
Ownership of who you are and what you're passionate about, right? Like if if Daniel came to the office every day in a suit and went to showings, he'd still do a great job, but he'd be uncomfortable. He'd hate it. And it wouldn't tie to really who he is and what he does. And his clients may feel that and respond to that. So who else? Somebody else jump in.
I really like to cook, and I used to run a cooking Instagram and teach cooking classes. And I merged all of my Instagrams so that I still have like a real estate handle, but I post a lot about what I'm cooking and making throughout the week. And I've sent out mailers that include like my favorite recipe of the season, and it kind of ties it all together, and I get more action on what I cook than real estate, but then they don't forget that I still do real estate.
That's really cool. What was what's your favorite recipe of the fall?
I sent out my classic chocolate chip cookie recipe that's been kind of like a household secret, so made it a little special.
Very cool. So that's really, these last couple things that you guys have provided are super helpful, and it's something that I talk about often right now. And it's like, as we are like winding down the year, we're oftentimes trying to find ways to stay in front of clients, right? What do we do? How do I call my sphere? What are the touch points that you have? And so, I wanted to post about a listing. I wanted to post about my sale. I wanted to post a feedback from a transaction from somebody, a testimonial, right? And if you look at stuff on social media, the funniest things that you'll see is when people post that stuff, it gets like 4 likes, it gets like 6 likes. It tells people are looking and they see it and they recognize it. But the stuff that people want to celebrate and identify you with is like, it is your family, it is things you're passionate about, it is the trip that you're on, it is the recipes that you do, because that's what makes you the real human, right? So the question then becomes like, how do you balance it? And it's an equal mix of all of it, like Ford said, like with 3 buckets to say, Mia does cooking, here's what her business is, and here's what her family is. And so they tie them all together. And if you post enough content of all of it, you can recognize that when you post about real estate, gosh, she's still kicking butt. She's still dominating the industry. If we're moving, we're calling her. But then it's all the other touch points that you do to call and say, hey, I'm going to deliver you a Thanksgiving pie. I have clients that know that they're going to get a pie from me in 3 weeks. Rinse, repeat every single year, rain, snow, or shine, we're delivering them through COVID, everything. And I get texts, Alex, we can always count on you to do this. It's part of my identity with my clients. That doesn't get me more business. But what it does is it helps facilitate and build the relationships that we work so hard to get and grow those relationships over the years. So when it is time for them to move, or they do know that it's time for somebody they know to move, they're going to call and say, Alex is always here for us. Then you follow up with a touch point, then you follow up with the happy holidays, then you follow up with the happy New Year's. And it's all those things that you have to do over time. It's not just one magical thing that you're going to do. It's not one client party. It's not one mailer that you're going to do. Anybody else doing anything for their personal brand?
I've been doing more reels on Instagram, and I used to, another powerful thing I heard was like, if you're just copying what somebody else is doing, well, it worked for them, so maybe it'll work for me. But then when it doesn't work, you get upset. So I just decided, as silly as I feel, I'm going to pick the things that I like. I'm going to make them informative as much as I can. But I love The Office. So half of my reels have something with The Office. I'm going to pick music I like. I have a song from Beck and the Death Grips. I've never heard anybody use that, but that's me. I'm not going to use something from Taylor Swift or whoever. So that's how people will get to know me, and it might not trend as much because it's, not a trending audio or what other people like, but that's representative of me. So what you're getting. Hopefully.
Alex, have you ever heard of Death
somebody
Grips?
sees that.
Never.
Oh yeah,
I heard
they're awesome.
someone was playing that song in UPS. It was very loud and very weird, but I loved it. So but it was very strange to walk into. It sounded like a techno IT It was strange.
Sarah, I'll make Alex listen to it later today.
It's,
Yeah, right.
you'll like it.
So one more thing, and I'm going to loop Daniel back because he jumps in and he's a huge music guy. And one of the things that I, bust his chops a lot is like Daniel goes to so many concerts. So one thing that I could identify Daniel with is music. It's crazy concerts all the time. I see Instagram stuff about concerts. I always make a joke about it, but it's if Daniel's at the concerts, how can you tie and loop that in with your clients? If you post that you're there, or if you bring a client, like Daniel's been to like 87 Dave concerts. It's part of who he
Not
is and
quite
what he
that many.
does. And last year when he went to a Dave concert, he met up with the client. He bought him a beer. Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were a Dave fan. This is amazing. Daniel and that client are tied together and identified not only through real estate. Real estate's pushed to the side because they know that Daniel can deliver on real estate. But as Dave people, they know that they're going to connect on that concert time every single year at the exact same time, at the exact same concert, probably in the very similar spot because that's who Daniel is and that's who those people are.
I've bought concert tickets as closing gifts before a couple times, and one of the times I went with the client, like we went together to the show as like a closing gift, and like that works. It just, you can't do it all the time, but it works in certain situations.
You take a relationship and you advance it substantially further when your individual brands connect and identify together. So anything else from anybody that they're working on? Cool. We're going to wrap up, guys. This is something that I'm passionate about. I appreciate all you guys jumping in today. We do have these recordings and they're put on our YouTube channel. So if you guys want to go back and watch again, by all means, you can reach out to me or Thano and we'll get that information to you. Next week, we're going to talk about how to manage open houses and how to do expired listings. And that's a kind of a 2-tier deal. So we'll do half and half, but if the open house section takes longer, we'll do the whole 40 minutes about how to run an open house, how to prepare for it, what to do, and how to market it. So very excited to talk about that next week, Wednesday at 9:30. So thank you guys so much. And as always, we'll see you next week.